Right, we're going to continue on Kodita. Now, the purpose of the attack is to seize or diminish state power. If you will remember, the act of Trillanes and Company seized one of the public utilities in the north. The attack was swift, and Trillanes and Company are members of the military. Now, what happened to the case? The case decided against the perpetrators. They were, I believe they were convicted of the crime, but they were nonetheless pardoned. So it was a perfect example of Codita, the act of Trillanes and Company. So the essence of the crime of Codita is a swift attack, kanang kalit lang, upon the facilities of the Philippine government. Or in the case of Trillanes and Company, it was a public utility. I think it was a hotel. Yeah. Facilities of the Philippine government, attack upon the facilities of the Philippine government, military camps, installations, communication network like the common communication network here in the Philippines. Public utilities, the terminals, buses, or the public that may generally use. And facilities essential to the continued position of government power. So, terminals, docks, as public utilities. It may be committed singly or collectively. So, pwede na siya gamay lang, not really a movement. Because this is say for example, it's a member of the military, they can attack singly or by small amount of group, number of persons in a group. And it does not require multitude of people, of course. The objective may not be to overthrow the government, but only to destabilize or paralyze the government through seizure of facilities. So, not really to overthrow, but kuanan lang o kuaan o power or para mo kuhaan of power or to diminish the state power para mabalda ang gobyerno. So, not necessarily multitude, unlike rebellion, not necessarily not necessarily to overthrow the government or to sakupon ang isa ka part sa Pilipinas. The facility or public utilities for continued functions to be used by the government, or facilities used by the government, bisan kana lang ang exist sa members of the military or public officer or employee of the government. Now, the purpose is to diminish state power. So, kung ang state power is to now, one of the state powers is to provide peace and order in a public utility, or a part of the government function is to provide security in a certain public utility company or public utilities used by the general public. Then if you will seize that, and the purpose is to, of course, it's always political, is to diminish state power for political reasons, then you may be committing a the crime of codita. Now, who are the persons liable for rebellion, insurrection, or codita under Article 135? Article 135 states that the persons liable for the crime are the leaders, any persons who promotes, maintains, or heads a rebellion or insurrection, any person who leads, directs, or commands other to undertake codita. The participants, now first the leaders, that's any person who promotes, maintains, and heads rebellion, any person who leads, directs, or commands. The participants, any person who participates or executes the commands of others in rebellion, insurrection, or codita. Nanuntuo sa command. The person not in the government service who participates, supports, finances, abets and aids in undertaking a codita. So, the persons liable may be in crimes of rebellion, insurrection, or codita may be a private citizen or a government employee. Now, in rebellion, of course, the leaders need not be a public employee or officer or member of the military. In codita, and the law requires as such. In case of participants, the rebellion, crime of rebellion, a public officer or employee may be participant and may be liable also for the crime. And in cases of codita, a private individual may be liable if he participates, supports, finances, abets, and aids in undertaking a codita. So, pwede ang private individual for the crime of codita, although the leader or other members were public employee or officer or member of the military. We will move on Article 136, conspiracy and proposal to commit codita, rebellion, or insurrection. As I've mentioned a while ago or in the previous lectures, conspiracy and proposal to commit a crime is generally not punishable by law, except when the law states so, of course. Now, in cases of insurrection or rebellion or codita, conspiracy and proposal to commit these crimes are punishable by law. Now, to recall what is conspiracy, a conspiracy exists when two or more persons come to an agreement concerning the commission of crime or felony and decide to commit it. That's Article 8 of the Revised Penal Code, Book 1. Proposal to commit a crime is when person who has decided to commit a felony proposes its execution to some other person or persons. So that's the distinction between conspiracy and proposal to commit a crime. Now, generally, again, conspiracy and proposal to commit felony is not punishable by law except when the law states so, as in the cases of codita and rebellion. By the way, rebellion or insurrection is defined under one provision. So it's either rebellion or insurrection. Now, the distinction between the two may have they may have distinction, but for the purposes of commission of a crime, the two term rebellion and insurrection is, as I've said, defined under one article. So you may use it synonym. You may use the same for the same meaning. Article 136, proposal and conspiracy to commit coup d'etat, rebellion, and insurrection. Article 137, disloyalty of public officer or employees. Now, Article 137 punish the acts of, first, by failing to resist a rebellion by all means in their power. So, by all means, kung kaya nimo resist ang rebellion, then you have to resist it. But if they are armed, of course, you are justified in not resisting, in preserving your life if your life is at risk. Now, second act punished is by continuing to discharge the duties of their offices under the control of the rebel. So, nag-siege ang isa ka rebelde, isa ka ahensya or offices sa government. And then the government employees still discharges even though nanas control sa rebelde. And third is by accepting appointment. So, ning appoint ang rebelde, pananglitan na sila nakuha ang usa ka part sa Pilipinas or usa ka office or agency sa Pilipinas. And then ning appoint of officers to continue its duties or to continue government function. That's disloyalty, that's punishable under the law. And offender must be a public officer or employee. So by failing to resist rebellion, you must be a public officer or employee. By continuing to discharge official functions or duties, you must be public officer or employee. Or by accepting appointment to office, that's by a public officer. Inciting to rebellion or insurrection under Article 138. Now, the offender under Article 128 does not take arms or is not in open hostility against the government, but he incites others to the execution of any of the acts of rebellion. So wala siya labot sa taking arms, public uprising and taking arms against the government, but he incites others. So siya ay nagtulod-tulod ng mga ubang tao para mo rebelde. So the inciting is done by means of speeches, proclamations, writings, emblems, banners, or other representations tending to do the same end. So muna iyang purpose is to incite rebellion. So nasa mga banners, pang post sa public areas or writings or say a piece of writings stated in a newspaper or speeches or editorials inciting people to commit the crime of rebellion. That's punishable under the law. Siya ay magtulod-tulod og mga tao para mo-commit og rebellion, but he himself, he is not taking part of the public uprising or taking arms against the government.